Welcome back to the Dragon's Lair, everybody. My name is Wade, and this is my friend Kyle.
Hello.
This is our show, Let's Get Weird, with Kyle and Wade, where we talk about weird stuff. The strange, the unusual, the paranormal, all those sorts of things. Go ahead and check out our playlist of different things that we do here on Let's Get Weird. We've got some Randonautica on there. And today, the format of this video is Kyle and I will be presenting things to each other. Today I'm going to be presenting to Kyle. And we have this thing called the Believer Skeptic Index. We feel that as our audience, we serve you better if we take a different point of view of these topics. Now, I might be able to convince Kyle to come my way, or Kyle may be able to prove that I'm full of bull. And that might be a thing. But if we figure that if one of us goes for this thing could be real and one of us goes for this thing isn't real because we give everybody a different point of view, and that better serves you as our audience. So, Kyle, are you ready to get weird?
I'm going to do my best, Wade. I have no idea what you're going to present to me. I'm looking forward to whatever crazy time you have been up to.
So,
this is going to be great.
Beforehand, Kyle and I worked out that I'm going to surprise him with the topic. And I think it works best if we surprise each other so that we don't see it coming and that we have no bias going into it. Kyle consented to be surprised, and I admitted to him I have a little bit of an ambush planned for him. He asked for permission to be able to Google things live as we're presenting, so he could fact check me into oblivion. But I think this one's going to hold up to the fact checker.
So no, I'm waiting on you, man. I cannot wait for this. Let's do this.
Okay. So this is how I want to open this door. I'm going to kick down this truth door onto you. All right. So I want to blanket this. So go ahead and watch our episode 0 of Let's Get Weird, because it tells you a little bit about who we are as paranormal, strange, investigator type people. So I'm going to do a clap back to my core belief in the paranormal. And my core belief is everybody saw something. Okay, so everybody saw something. So Kyle, as a man of science, here's the ambush. I'm setting you up now. As a man of science, what is sort of your threshold for something is plausible? I know that's a big, wide open statement. But, okay, so here, I'll get more specific. You have one eyewitness. Eyewitness said they saw something crazy. What do you think?
Well, Wade, as you know, I spent a lot of years as a paranormal investigator. And when you say they saw something crazy, I truly don't know if we're going to have the same scale on that or not. I've heard a lot of crazy things over the years. Now, the first thing that comes to mind, I guess, when you say that is, if something is difficult to believe and somebody's obviously proclaiming that thing to be true, the first thing that I wonder is, okay, let's say they are being dishonest. I try to think of why would they possibly do that? What is in it for them to be dishonest? Sometimes, like back when I was doing a lot of paranormal investigation stuff, I talked to a lot of people who did not have any reason to lie about stuff. Even some people just simply wanting attention can be the reason they're going to say something wild. But even then, if usually the attention seekers would be someone who might not have a lot of strong family or friend connections, who want an outside group to come in and believe something. But I've definitely seen people in families who have kids and seem to have lots of good connections and loved ones, and still are saying they think something is true, and they don't want that to be so. They don't want their kids to know about it. They don't want other people. So that kind of thing almost made me want to say, okay, well, let's start digging a little bit deeper. Let's look into this a little bit further. And that's gonna so there's not really a simple, easy, right answer to your question. I'm going to need some
Okay.
more information.
What would you say if 7 people all said they saw the same crazy thing? They were there at the same time, they described the same crazy thing, and they had the same experience with it. 7 different people.
If you told me that 7 separate people gave the exact same description of something, I would actually, I'll be honest, that makes it seem even less credible to me. And here's why. Okay, I teach in a American public school, Wade. Um, and one thing that I teach most years, we talk about the American Revolution. We talk about the Boston Massacre is one thing we talk about. Okay, and I bring this up specifically for this reason. The number of different people who were there at that time, right? You got lots of British soldiers. You've got the people of Boston, crowds of people. There are just that many different views on what happened because every single person, right? So when I teach this to my students, I show them primary source evidence from the Bostonians who were there in the crowd, throwing stones, throwing snowballs, allegedly just snowballs, right? I've seen stuff written from the soldiers and the captains who were there ordering their troops, who talk about the colonists and how they were throwing rocks and icicles and they were saying horrible things, and everybody's got a different view on it. I've run this experiment in my classroom where I have a teacher come in and do a bunch of crazy stuff, and then I have 30 students write about exactly what they saw, and I'm getting 30 different perspectives on what happened. Nobody's giving me the exact same answer. So you tell me there's exactly 7 people with identical stories. This is pretty suspicious.
Okay. The identical stories only differ in very small things, like the distance was 50 feet or the distance was 100 feet. Those are the only inconsistencies in the story. Okay, so then last what if? What if over 40 years these same 7 people have told the same story? It's never changed. The only inconsistencies is 50 feet to this or 100 feet to that. And then these people have been polygraphed 18 times, and only one of the 18 polygraphs has been inconclusive. Now, it did not determine that the person was lying. It was an inconclusive result, which, if you know anything about polygraphs, means that that particular test basically failed to take a good test. And then the last caveat that I'll put to that is all 7 of these people, I'm going to back away from all 7. I'm going to say most of these people. They lost family, they lost jobs, they weren't able to be hired in future jobs, they suffered. Some of these guys, their lives were wrecked by them telling this story, and only one of them gained any sort of fame and only a limited amount of money from telling this story. Only one of them. How does that change your point of view?
What underrated is when were these polygraph tests taken? I put it in quotes because I think we both know that the science behind the polygraph test is pretty shaky at best. And I feel like it's testing how much an individual might believe their own story. You know, they're confident, they're calm, they're consistent, and they feel comfortable relating the story. I think those are really the things that a polygraph is going to be pulling out. And even then, again, I think a lie detector test is stretching it a little bit. Especially if these are stories being told over a long period of time where they've kind of gotten into the groove. I'm wondering if you're going with like the people who did the Gimlin film for Bigfoot. That's what I'm wondering if you're going to drop on me. Because whether you are or not, right, I'm picturing people who have been telling the same famous story over and over again for years, who kind of, again, they've fallen into the routine. They're comfortable. Some people think they're hacked. Some people think they're brilliant, and they've accepted their role in all this. That's what that tells me. Is that they keep telling because what they perceived, right? They might be accurately retelling their perception. That's my thought.
Well, that is why you are the skeptic on this show, my friend. I think those are all great points of view. No, I think that's a really well thought out position, and those are great points. So yeah, I will concede that polygraphs or lie detectors are traditionally not accepted in courts of law. And from everything I hear in the research that I've done, police do use them to sort of figure out who is sketchy and who needs to be further investigated. So yeah, I will concede that they are not things that can be used in courts of law. Okay, I feel like I've set the stage a little bit enough, so I'll go into it. November 5th, 1975. Hebron, Arizona. Any closer for you?
Nope.
Okay. There's a group of 7 guys that are loggers, lumberjacks, out in the woods, Hebron, Arizona. And they've been working 12-hour days. They're at the end of day 3. And they're heading back. They're heading back to town. They're in a truck being driven by the boss. Oh, I see the Googling. And they see lights in the woods. They drive over there because they think it's people camping. And one of the guys gets out. His name is Travis Walton. Ringing any bells?
Travis Walton, Arizona. No. And for the record, what I am Googling is just a map of Arizona, and I'm finding where Hebron is.
Ah, okay.
So I've got some sort of idea on even just the geography.
Notice the closeness between Hebron and Phoenix. For everyone who knows where I'm going with this, you know where I'm going with this. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about Travis Walton. Travis, I believe at the time of this filming, you are still with us on this earth. And if this ever reaches your eyes, I do not scrutinize you or minimize what happened to you in any way. I am sorry for your experience, my friend. So Travis was, for all accounts, a very rambunctious youth. I think he was about 22, 23 years old at this point in time. Travis did boxing. He rode motorcycles. He was a rough and tumble guy, as well as the other loggers that were with them. If you're working with chainsaws and axes, 12-hour days out in the forests, you're a pretty tough and rumble person. Okay, working 12-hour days. Okay, there is a story that of his friends tell of Travis that he once saw a bear by the side of the road, jumped out of his car and chased the bear into the woods, and the bear ran from him. So Travis, he was a heck raiser, you could say, probably. Anyways, they think there's people camping, and they pull off to the side of the road in this forest, and Travis goes up there. And what they see, and now this is one of the differences, it's between 50 to 100 feet out and about 50 feet up is your classic flying saucer, right? It's a disc shape with like the hatch on the, not hatch, but the part on the top and the bottom, right? Think black and white science fiction, right? Now, all of them describe seeing this thing, and all of them describe the under part of it was just beautifully constructed with all these different lights, okay? And it's completely quiet. This thing is completely quiet. And it's just like hovering there, emitting light. All 7 people saw it. All 7 people say the same thing. Travis goes up to this thing and is like looking up at it. And everyone's like, Travis, come back. Like, dude, like, come back. And, we're talking like big buff dudes, right? And about the time Travis is like, hey, this isn't a good idea to be here, and he starts getting the idea, hey, I'm going to get out of here, a beam of light hits Travis. And everybody says it knocked him off his feet 20 feet back. Everybody panics. They're still in the truck. They take off. Okay, they leave. Now, this is part of the story that a lot of these people are not proud to say because they're not happy that they left Travis. Okay, but they get down the road about 10, 20 minutes and they decide they left Travis and Travis is probably dead. They think he's dead. So they turn around. They muster their courage, to their credit. I give these men credit. They turn around and they go back to get Travis. And when they go back, the flying saucer, is gone. And Travis is gone. And they search for him. And they search for him for about 2 hours because then they decide that they're going to call the police. So they have a big fight about that. Who's going to believe us? They're going to blame us. What are we going to do? And one of the guys decides we have to call the police. So they drive to a payphone because it's 1975, right? They drive to a payphone. They call the police. And when the police come out, it's been about 3 hours. So they searched for him for 2 hours and some change. Then they had to drive. And then the police come out and it's 2 sheriffs. The 2 sheriffs, when they get there, they immediately assume that these guys are drunk or that these guys are on drugs. They search these guys. Now, obviously, there's not breathalyzers and tests, chemical tests that can be done because it's 1975. They search the truck. They search these guys. They do field sobriety tests on them. And they determine no one is under the influence of drugs or alcohol. And they immediately assume that these guys killed Travis. From moment one, these 6 guys are assumed to be murderers. What do you think about what we got so far?
I feel like at this point in the story, the police officers are making a very reasonable assumption.
Okay. So then, they take down the statements, and then the police organize a search. Okay. The 6 other men are allowed to go home, but most of them just wind up changing their clothes, taking a shower, getting a meal, and then they come back 5 hours later because they were with the police the rest of that night. They come back 5 or 4 hours later, and then they help search for Travis. And at this point, there are dogs, there are helicopters, there's volunteer people, there's people on horseback, there's all kinds of stuff. Okay, and then they help search for Travis. Nobody finds Travis that day. Okay, now this is an account that was told by some of the men, and I don't know. The only thing that sounds fishy about this whole story is this part to me, and I will consent to that. I will admit to that. They say that part of the search people, there was these people walking around with metal detectors, and they were wearing red coats. And these guys, as the day goes on, they get more nervous that they're going to get blamed for this. And so one of them walks up to the guys wearing the red coats and asks them, "Hey, what are you doing?" And there's 3 guys wearing the red coats. And the 3 guys are like, "We're looking for radiation." And in an attempt to be helpful to prove their innocence, he gets the other loggers together and says, "Hey, do we have anything from that was still with us when we were there?" And they decide that their hard hats are still in the back of the truck, and the truck's there. So they get the hard hats out, and they put the hard hats down, and the guys with the red coats scan the hard hats, and the hard hats are radioactive. They come back with, you can audibly hear the machine, like a Geiger counter, how it ticks. That's how these guys described it, without knowing anything about Geiger counters. So supposedly, like I said, this is the part of the story that I find to be a little suspicious, and the only part. Supposedly, then the loggers are like, "Hey, we got proof of something weird over here." And they're trying to get the sheriff's attention. And in that process, the 3 guys with the red coats wander away and disappear. So that is a story that's told. And then the sheriffs are like, "Who are those guys with the red coats? We don't know who they are. We didn't ask them to be here." Okay. So I'll admit that part seems a little fishy, but that was also something that the guys talked about that happened. All right. So they do not find Travis. And at the end of that day, the police take the 6 men aside and then say, hey, you murdered Travis. He's up here somewhere. Just tell us where he is and we'll go easy on you. And the guys do not crack. They do not admit to having murdered Travis. And at that point, the town of Hebron kind of turns on these guys. Their families start to assume that they're murderers, some of them. I'm not saying that about all the families. I'm just saying that did happen. And from what I also understand, they lost the contract, the logging contract for that spot of land because all this police interruption put them so far behind. So they suffered monetarily, they suffered personally. Okay. 5 days later, Travis Walton appears in the woods. What he says is he remembers being on the ground in the rain, in the dark, looking up and seeing the underside of the flying saucer as it flew away. He saw the underside of it. He walks down the road. He just picks a direction. He walks down the road, finds a gas station truck stop thing, uses the payphone, calls his brother. His brother picks him up and takes him to Phoenix, Arizona, where there's a hospital. Has Travis checked out. Travis can barely walk. He's so weak and he's so tired. And he was found to be dehydrated. He was found to be malnourished. But besides that, he had no drugs or alcohol in his system. And they had to call the police because Travis was missing. And when the police came down, they, confirmed that it was in fact Travis Walton. And they wanted to do their own tests somewhere. Right in that time, the National Enquirer got a hold of Travis Walton, did pay him for his story, the exclusive rights for his story. And they also paid for some of his medical bills. And then they wanted to pay for his additional medical testing. So I want to be out in the open there. The National Enquirer did pay him for the exclusive rights to his story and for some medical care and additional tests because they wanted to know everything and have the official rights to the knowledge of everything. Okay. What do you think with what we got so far?
I guess my first thought there is that anything UFO related becomes incredibly difficult. But that's okay. It's great. I love it. My second thought there, Wade, is if this flying saucer came so close to the ground, why weren't there other people in the surrounding even half a square mile? Like, hey man, where there's lights, there's bits in the sky. I know obviously. I would be interested in looking at. I'm trying to think how to describe this. Forests, big forests in Arizona are going to be very, very dry, and they're going to have a lot of, even today, right, like potential for fires and stuff. Were there fire watchtowers that watch for crazy lights at night? Were they seeing this kind of stuff out near the deserts? Because I was Googling where, I wanted to see kind of geography around Arizona. And I can't find the name of the town you named here, but that doesn't matter so much. I'm seeing lots of patches of forestiness. I've never been to Arizona, so when I think of Arizona, I only think desert. So that's on me, I suppose. But yeah, there's lots of national forests out this way. In particular, there's some big national forests just north of Phoenix. I'm seeing the Tonto National Forest, St. Greaves National Forest, many others.
I had to look it up too because I didn't know there was that many trees in Arizona to be chopping down.
Yeah, right, and that was interesting. And I'm sure I know with like forest management, and you could work with the National Forest Service and be clearing trees out to be fire prevention stuff. I don't know. I'm only just guessing what this guy could be doing or what the deeper nature of his job would be. But I guess I really feel like there are people, especially this many national forests around the city of Phoenix in the 1970s. Like there had to have been. And the reason I'm thinking about fire watchtowers in particular is because they would be watching for big amounts of light at night to see if there's a reason to be worried or a reason for issues. It just seems I'm skeptical about the fact that nobody at all saw this bright flashing thing in the middle of the night. That seems pretty strange to me. I think immediate reasons why these people would lie about this thing, especially if the guy turns up later and he, it's pretty interesting that he agrees with their story, right? Like he's saying, hey, yeah, they did this thing. My buddies in the truck didn't kick me out or whatever. So yeah, I don't have a clear, and this is definitely what it is, but just the fact that nobody else other than these 6 or 7 dudes saw that light in the night does seem pretty strange to me.
I will say, one thing that I didn't mention that I want to make sure I'm honest with. I always want to make sure I lay everything out on the table. When he was inspected at the hospital, he didn't have any injuries on him. They did find 1 needle puncture in the arm. I will say that. I don't know which arm it was. I'm just pointing to my arm, but they did find 1 needle puncture in his arm. I just want to be honest about everything. And then a reaction to what you said is, he's told his story so many times, and he's been transparent. He's run the ufology circle, right? And there have been people who have come forward that are seen as very credible. 2 of them were government contractors, like defense, Department of Defense people, who were guys that were camping out in the woods in that same time frame, who said they saw something in the woods within that same time frame. But I understand that's guys that are coming forward to someone who's got a lot of, attention around them. And, the way that Travis says it is he never speaks these guys' names because he doesn't want to discredit them or harm them in any way. But he says that they approached him and said, yeah, we hunt out there and we have seen the same thing. We were out there that weekend and we saw lights. But I understand how easy it is for you to refute that because it's just Travis telling a story about people telling a story. One thing that I've pointed out. Well, one thing that I pointed out several times as a little bit of a setup is Phoenix, Arizona is known for their UFO sightings. For instance, the Phoenix Lights, which was witnessed by 1,000 or more people recorded having seen it. And probably a lot more people who have not admitted to seeing it because they don't want to be seen as kooky. So because I think Hebron and Phoenix are about an hour apart from each other, I think that is pretty noticeable, that this area is known for these things. I don't want to go into Travis's abduction story because it's pretty traumatic. I do want to point out that there has been books and movies made of his story, and don't believe the movie is Fire in the Sky, and I think the book is the same by the same name. I believe if I've done my research right, Travis will tell you that the experience in the movie was more traumatic than what he actually experienced. It's more violent in the movie. They wanted to make it scary. And although his experience is very scary and troubling, like I said, I don't want to get into it, it's very much what we now have come to know as the normal abduction experience. So he wakes up on a table and there's aliens around him, near him, performing some sort of medical experiments on him. He fought them and he got free, but he eventually was recaptured by people who he thought may be able to help him that were in fact on the alien side of things. And like I said, I don't want to. His experience is traumatic, and I don't want to trivialize it. And I don't want to. It's his experience, and it's very personal. Anyways, but it's very representative of what we now know as the average abduction experience. I here's me. I don't want to like stand on this soapbox and say aliens because I don't have my tinfoil hat. And right, I do, and I like and I respect Sergio from Ancient Aliens, but I don't want to be like aliens. What I do want to say is, I think those guys saw something. I 100% believe that they saw something, and maybe it was United States government, and maybe it was 85 different things, and aliens is in the pot of 85 different things. But I do not think that those guys are liars. I do not think that they made it up. And that's, I know that I have the burden of being the believer. But outside of that, I personally believe that they are not lying and that they did not make this up. That's me.
Well, I was hoping to be able to Google an easy distance here, but I can tell you that the distance between Area 51 and Phoenix, Arizona, is, I don't know. I don't have I typed in Groom Lake, Nevada, because I know that's where it's at, but Google Maps won't give me a quick and easy drive time, unfortunately.
Weird.
They don't seem very far apart. Probably because Groom Lake's not technically a town with real official roads going to it. So, as you I'm sure know, you can do Rachel, Nevada. I'm sure we all know that Rachel, Nevada is right outside of Area 51, aren't we?
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, you knew that.
Totally.
Well,
I summered there.
450 miles. So if you're in an experimental, government top secret airplane, that's like no time at all.
Right. Well, and I think, well, I think one thing that's interesting, and we could do a whole other video about this, but I think one thing that's interesting is before Area 51 became a thing, okay, you got to keep in mind that it was where the only nuclear bombing group was stationed. The guys that if they had to drop a nuclear bomb were at Area 51. And that was the bombing group. And at the time, they were the only group that did it. So before all this UFO stuff, that was a thing. And there's a long history of UFOs being spotted around nuclear weapons and around nuclear silos and around ICBMs. So all this stuff might be connected in some way, shape, or form. And like I said, we could do a whole other video on that. So, kind of ready to sum this up a bit. Where are you on the Travis Walton alien abduction experience?
So I guess maybe I have a soft spot in my heart for alien things as opposed to ghosts and Bigfoot. There's a whole universe out there. So I don't know. Maybe if these guys, I'm willing to bet. I guess if I had to really put a pin in it. I'm willing to believe they saw something weird. Whether or not those things were extraterrestrial life forms from the sky or top secret, whatever military something. I don't know. But yeah, why cling to a story if it's just going to make you lose your job and lose work and whatever? I think, like I said, there doesn't seem to be much gained from this, other than some other UFO quote unquote crackpot believers out there want to be your best friend, but that's not helping you in the long run.
Right.
So I don't know. Definitely spooky, definitely weird, definitely interesting, and yeah, I don't have a good rebuttal or skeptical whatever off the top of my head on this one.
So I think where we kind of land, and let me know what you think about that in our last couple minutes here, kind of the skeptical line is heavily affected by what benefit does the person have by talking about having witnessed this thing? Is that a point there?
I mean, yeah, to me at least. You know, if they're gonna keep lying about something, there's got to be a reason. You got to get something out of it. So if there's no reason to lie, then I think there's no motive.
Sure. Well, and I'm sure I don't know if Travis is still on this earth at this point in time. Like, I don't know if he's passed away or not. I know he's not. Last time I checked, he wasn't that old, so he could still be alive. And to be fair, I do imagine he is paid for his appearances at UFO conferences and things like that. But I don't think he's raking it in. You know what I mean? Like, some of my favorite celebrities appear at cons and sign $10 photos. So you know what I mean? Like, even them are not raking it in. So, anyways, yeah, I really enjoyed presenting this to you and going through the info with you. I can't wait for you to have something that you can present to me, and I can try to make it believable.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how that works in reverse, right?
Right. But I also admit that I kind of got you in a corner, because if you're like, oh, this is trash, then that doesn't wear very good on you as being a good-hearted, good-natured person that I know that you are. Because you can't just watch or Shane everything. You can't just be a Shaniac out there screaming at the moon. So
Sure.
yeah. Anyways, so I've enjoyed having this conversation with you, Kyle. This is our show. It does right now live on The Dragon's Lair on YouTube. But, one day if we get super crazy famous, maybe it'll be our own show. And maybe one day Shane and Ryan will work with us. And I know I bring up Watcher quite a bit, but I'll digress. Yeah, I enjoy this content and sharing this stuff with you guys. I want to say thank you. And me and Kyle have really enjoyed having you. We here at The Dragon's Lair know that you can spend your time anywhere on the internet. So we want to say thank you for spending your time here with us at The Dragon's Lair.